pit stop. It's a pit stop. Pit stop. It's a pit stop. Pit stop. It's a pit stop. Pit stop.
What's going on? And we are back with your Purple Pants podcast, pit stop coverage of our rewatch of Amazing Race season 5. We are covering episode 7 this weekend. We have a lot to talk about, and I'm so excited to be here with my amazing, my talented, the ever so note-taking Miss Brooke Cam-High, the winner of Amazing Race season 29. Welcome back, Brooke.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I like your shirt today. You're so cultured.
Yes, I had to bring a little culture because in this episode, the culture comes to the people, and I don't know if they respect the culture. But listen, Brooke, you are not the only winner I had to get for this episode. I am so excited to have one half of the winning team of Amazing Race, the season 35. We have Mr. Greg Franklin, Pastries with Greg. Welcome to the Purple Pants podcast.
Thank you. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I usually would introduce myself as like the most recent winner, but coming up, I'm going to be the 2 seasons ago winner. So I'm starting to
you're old news, my friend.
Old news.
Imagine how I feel. Totally irrelevant.
Well, I mean, I don't even get to introduce myself as a winner, so I'm not sure how that feels, but I would imagine.
Talk to me after Survivor season 50 and see what happens.
Brooke, I don't know why y'all keep doing that, okay? We'll all be watching it together, and we'll be rooting for whoever's out there. But thank you so much, Greg.
I think what I think, that's fine.
I'm just saying. Actually, you know what, Greg? Since before we get into this episode, could you settle a debate for us?
Please.
Thank you. So, you know what a fill elimination is, right?
Elimination.
I mean, I can take a guess, but I don't think I know exactly what it is.
Okay, you know what? We won't even tell you. Yeah, what would you define a elimination as?
Yes.
I would define it as like definitely the eyebrow raise with the whole like going like that, and then just him saying you've been eliminated in a way that like maybe wouldn't be like the most happy. I don't know.
Where does it take place?
On the mat.
No.
They disagree.
Okay, so fill elimination.
There's many definitions of a fill elimination.
Historically is when Phil comes to you, like you're still competing in the challenge, and because all the teams because all the teams have checked in, Phil, he ain't got time to be waiting for you to complete a challenge, so he comes to you and eliminates you wherever you are. But
I think that happened in my season, with the Philly Jones.
With the Philly Jones.
Yeah.
So, but I guess Brooke and I were having a debate because on season 5 was allegedly the first Phil elimination, but Marshall and Lance.
We can't do this again, but we spent like 40 minutes on the last podcast talking about whether if a team quits, but Phil comes to you on the course, whether it's a Phil elimination if you've eliminated yourself, or whether the Phil elimination is he comes to you and eliminates you, or because you've quit, you've technically eliminated yourself. Does it not count? But we're letting the people decide. I know that Bryce just tried to do what he did and tried to get another winner to say it was something different. I appreciate your pluck. We're just going to agree to.
Okay. We can agree to disagree, but okay. One last question for Greg. If we're playing Monopoly,
I think he's going to say if you quit, if I run out of money, so I say I quit, does that mean you won or I quit?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's particular for the Amazing Race because for the Amazing Race, you have to have Phil vote you out or say that you've been eliminated. Like you can't actually quit.
That means every elimination is a Phil elimination, though.
Right.
It's just
and also, I mean, I'm kind of curious. So you said for this past episode, someone intentionally said I quit and they stopped the race.
In the last episode, the last team, Marshall and Lance, knew they were so far behind and everyone else had finished, and so and one was hurt, so they're like, I quit. And so Phil came to the course and said, "You're the last team. You're eliminated." That's a full elimination. He comes to the course and he eliminates you. I don't think it matters if you've quit already or not because he's basically just telling you can't show up for the next leg because you're done here. Because if it was a non-elimination leg, he could have come to the course and been like, you guys really need to finish because this is not an elimination spot. And then it wouldn't have been a full elimination. Whatever. We spent way too long debating it last week. It's become a thing. And now I think I'm the only person not messed up. You're back. I'm back. And now we have a problem with the bottoms.
Now, see, my question would be, did I leave the podcast or did my internet get disrupted? That's the question.
There is nothing
now I'm back.
Okay. No, but
Okay.
I will say if I had to choose a side, obviously it's a big debate. I will say as long as Phil comes, the definition of Philnation is him coming to the mat. If he comes to the mat, it might not matter whether or not they quit or not. But it's up for debate.
Everyone, this has been episode 5, episode 7. Thank you, Greg. Okay, you know what? Because what we're not doing, okay, what I don't
didn't even tell
have
him what
time
to
for
say.
is
I
winners
didn't even-
ganging up.
I didn't even tell him what to say. I didn't even do it.
Okay.
The thing was recording the entire time. You can go back and check the tape. I did not sway anybody.
Okay.
Well,
should we get into it?
Did I leave the podcast, Greg, or did my internet cut out?
Neither of those have anything to do. Okay. I love you so much. Okay.
Okay. Well, listen, let's get into episode 7 because World War Season 5 happens. And
I'm sorry. I think it must be Wimbledon is happening right now because I just heard like the loudest screams outside my apartment. And so something big must have just happened. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Go. I'm
the
ready.
people
I'm here.
agree that if you quit, you don't get eliminated. But the people,
you know what? You win. It's your podcast, man. It's all you. Whatever you say goes.
But all right, let's get in episode 7, Brooke, because
I am scared now. I usually at the beginning of an episode be like, this is the first time that such and such, or this is the first time, whatever. Now I'm scared to say it because honestly, when you see last week's, you're going to see that the debate goes on for way too long. Okay, so anyway, this is the first time that they go to Kenya and Tanzania, and we went to Tanzania. It is beautiful. And this is the first time to have no male teams racing. If you notice, there are no all-male teams left in this race. There are all female teams left in this race, go ladies, but no purely men teams, which has not happened in 4 seasons because men won in previous seasons. Okay, so we are going from Cairo, Egypt, to Tanzania, home of Ladlegate from season 29, where you had to make a ladle from a rusty spoon and 3 nails. And we have 6 teams left. We have Colin and Christy. We have leaving at 5:30 in the morning. Chip and Kim, about a half hour later. Cammie and Carly, 2 minutes after that. Brandon and Nicole, Jesus and Satan. Greg, you'll note that Brandon and Nicole, super religious, have a team of 4 because Jesus is on their side, but sometimes they kind of act like assholes. So Satan is on the other shoulder. Charlotte, and then Linda and Karen. And there is exactly 1 hour from the first team to the last team. So everyone is really, really close. I actually really like when we get to find out how far the whole time difference is rather than starting in groups, because starting in groups is super duper lame. That's my opinion only, but I think we'd all agree. To this point, Colin has been way calmer than I remember, and I'm thinking I remember the season wrong. And then I watched episode 7, and I realized he's a nut job, and he only gets nut jobbier, as evidenced by the fact that I got a phone call from one Bryce Isaiah last night in the middle of dinner talking about episode 8.
which is crazy.
Sneak peek.
And I love it. Okay. Anybody want to add anything before we start talking about where they go and what they do? And
Well, I did want to add one thing. Oh, go ahead, Bryce.
No. Go.
Just about the Colin Christy piece. It's funny that you said that he's a little bit, he's different than you remember, because I saw him at first on season 20,
31.
Season whatever the 31. Yeah, like the people who come back. And
well,
he was actually,
now you know who comes back, Bryce. We were trying to avoid that, but you know who comes back.
My bad.
We'll have to watch that.
bad.
No, we'll have to watch that.
I've also told Bryce that there has been one winning team that has come back, and the winning team is from the first 10 seasons. And so Bryce doesn't know who wins or how it ends, so you can't talk about any of that. But
I won't.
We
But
do know that this may be the winning team that comes back again. So now Bryce is aware of who comes back, but that's fine.
Well, actually, I forget who wins this episode. So I'm actually not 100% sure. But in the later seasons, he's so calm. He was actually an inspiration for my season. like I was like, okay, Colin and Christy, like they're a calm duo. This is how they work. And then seeing this season, I'm like, I've never seen this side of him before.
Oh.
Yeah, he did a solid 180. If Brooke were to go back, I don't think I could do that 180. He was like so zen. It's actually really funny. Who are you hating, Bryce?
So I mean, are we at this point? Nobody. But as soon as we get to the airport, a lot of things happen, and when we get to the bus, a lot of things happen. But you know, so far I think everything is going really well. I know the beef between Colin and Mirna are from last episode kind of heating up, and they only ramp up as soon as we get to the airport. But it's not even really with Colin; it's with Christy. Christy jumps in the battle this episode.
Yeah, she doesn't stand on the sidelines. So teams must fly from Cairo on one of two Egypt air flights, 7 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, to Nairobi, Kenya. Then sign up for one of 3 flights to a mystery location. I mean, the race is so pure and wonderful and great. Like, that's fantastic. Now, I know in the recent seasons when they were using the charter flight, they didn't tell the contestants where they were going or how long they'd be on the plane, which I think is torture. Like, you could be on the plane for an hour or for 12 hours. But this is kind of cool, mystery location. And then in Cairo, they can find their own flight to Kenya. So Colin and Christy are talking about how they don't want to get overconfident. Chip and Kim are talking about how their brain power is going to win it for them. Brandon is talking about, I trust in the Lord, and it's just so perfect. Everything he says is about the Lord's plan for them to win, and it's kind of ridiculous and amazing, and I love it. And then we have the airport drama. So in typical Charlotte and Mirna fashion, Mirna borrows the cab driver's phone to reserve the 7 a.m. flight because they're very smart and they do everything right. The best part about Mirna is she calls him Habibi. Like, everybody is Habibi. And so I go and look up what Habibi means because I wasn't sure. Like, the technical definition is my lover. And so she's walking around every country. But then there's like secondary, there's my friend, my love, my mom.
Right.
Everybody is Habibi. So the 7 a.m. flight that she reserved turns out to be delayed by 30 minutes. And so everybody ends up on the same flight to Cairo. And then they have to take taxis to the new Cairo airport. So now we've seen the old Cairo, the new Cairo. Linda and Karen have seen both many times because previously they went to the wrong airport. And at the airport, this is what Bryce is talking about with the drama. So Christy decides she's just going to block the airport doors so that Charlotte and Mirna cannot get into the airport. 2 problems with this. 1, Christy doesn't weigh that much and you can push her out of the way. 2, Charla can just scoot right under your arm, so you don't really have an issue with blocking the doors for her.
It's like I know we're in different countries, but like I didn't know we could claim ownership over airports or doors. Like, I'm pretty sure that's a felony if you were to do something like that in an airport today. So that was crazy to me. What was even more crazier was hearing like the telephone story of the incident, like Christy talking to the twins and being like, I put my hand on the door and not stopped her, and she called me a bitch. And the twins was like, oh, you're lying. And then Mirna and Smyrna are talking to Karen and Linda, and they're like, can you believe they blocked the door? And the moms are like, you're lying. For me, the telephone game was like the best part of this incident, which was just kind of crazy.
And then you have Chip and Kim in there who are like listening to both stories and being like, no, they didn't. No, you didn't. And then, but behind the scenes, they're like, just grow up. Like, what's that? Chip and Kim are like the voice of reason and everything perfect in this season, because you have the one side of Colin and Christy with the twins, and then you have the bowling moms, who are the only team that are really understanding the genius of Charlotte and Mirna. And then you have Chip and Kim just sort of doing the smart thing and gaining all the information from both sides in the middle.
See, okay. Well, Greg, because it's season 5 and I'm rooting for all of the diversity, obviously that means I'm only rooting for Chip and Kim. I love them, but I don't like where they fall on the beef in Colin versus Mirna, because although it's smart of them, they're kind of just going with the numbers, but I don't like that. Like, don't just go with the numbers, Chip and Kim. Stand up for what's right. And Colin ain't right this episode. So Chip and Kim kind of pissed me off a little bit. Just a little bit.
In all fairness, there's a yield every episode, and you want to make sure that, at least to people's faces, You don't want to be that team. Chip and Kim have climbed in the ranks. They are habitual. They've started falling higher in the rankings. And so if you have the opportunity to U-turn a team and like Colin and Christy are in front of you, but Chip and Kim are not, you're not going to U-turn a team or yield a team necessarily that you really like. You may do it to somebody else. I can see what they're doing. I get it. It's a strategy. I'm for it. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know. I feel like, well, one, I was kind of hoping that more people hopped on the Mirna side, mainly because I was watching my dad and he was like, oh, like who are the bad guys? Because he saw that there was like a division of sides. And I was like, well, actually, if I were to define the bad guys, I do think it would be Colin and Christy. Like Colin and
100%.
Christy and like that side were being a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more, mean. So I was disappointed to see more people on their side. But they're like the popular kids, right? And like it's the same thing. And I kind of hear you, Brooke. Like, you know, if you're playing the game and you don't want to get U-turned, especially these early seasons where like U-turns and yields are pretty big, then yeah, you got to go with the group. But it's disappointing to see. You hate to see it.
And it's like, especially because you have Christy who comes in and she's like, did you know what I did? Like, they're the talkers. They're the ones who are like, I did this. What we need to do. They're also the ones who like rile people up and are trying to say, let's work with each other. Let's buy tickets for each other. Let's work together. And if you're on the outs with Colin and Christy and they're like, let's work together to like mess with somebody, you don't want to be the person they're messing with. So I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it.
And it's just crazy that someone can order tickets for 4 teams. Like, that doesn't seem like Amazing Race to me. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
also diabolical, and I love it, but like also crazy.
But also you're ordering tickets on the wrong flight, guy. So they all end up on this. They all order tickets on this Swiss Air flight. Colin and Christy, Cammie and Carly, Brandon, Nicole, Jesus and Satan, and Chip and Kim. And then they see Charlotte and Mirna and Linda and Karen in the little Gulf Air, I don't know, vestibule. And they're like, what do they have? I wonder what's happening. But Colin is so confident they have the best flight. But then everybody else is like, why are we just listening to Colin? You know, peas and carrots. Let's go see what's up. So they go and they see Charlotte and Mirna and they realize Charlotte and Mirna are magic. And everyone ends up on the Charlotte and Mirna flight. Anyway, so maybe you're back in the wrong horse, Brandon and Nicole and Cammie and Carly, and I guess Chip and Kim. But whatever. What ends up happening next, however, is quite unfortunate because they have a layover in Bahrain. Charlotte and Mirna and Linda and Karen find a better flight. They change their Abu Dhabi flight connection to Dubai to get in 30 minutes before the other teams. Now, honestly, if it's me and Greg, I would love your opinion on this. 30 minutes, I don't know that I'm changing my flight when I'm with everybody to try and gain 30 minutes when there's habitually delays everywhere. What do you? I'm sort of in the mindset of stay with everybody, see what you can do at that point, then try. I would never do it if it was just my team. Maybe I would do it if I was with another team, but I don't know that I would do it at all. What do you think?
No, 30 minutes was certainly not worth it. But one thing I wanted to say about that first part too, when Colin and Christy were booking that original flight, you know, like you said, he was so confident he had the best flight, but the flight was like for tomorrow morning or something like that. I was like, as soon as they said that, I was like, that's the best you could find. So I'm really glad that Mirna and them could find a better flight. But yeah, on that point, it's definitely not worth it at all. Like staying with the group and staying with the pack, it's like unless you're going to get hours difference, then take the gamble. But betting for a few bucks on the poker table, it's not worth it. Don't go all in.
Like hours, even if you're delayed, then you could still have a chance to be in front. 30 minutes, this is what screwed them.
I haven't played Amazing Race before. Yes. However, I think a team like Karen and Linda, Mirna and Sharna, who when we see in past episodes, the teams arrive to the airports together, it's always Brandon and Nicole, Kim and Carly, and Colin and Christy, who can take off and get into these taxis and get a lead even when everyone is together. So I know 30 minutes is a huge risk, but I'm not mad at them for taking it because it's like that could have been the extra push had it not been delayed. And also it just makes for great TV because it's like now we're rooting for them like, yes, let's get it. And then I have to say, when I saw it was delayed, I definitely like threw my phone because I was pissed, like stop playing with them. But I digress.
The other nice part is that they knew that when they got to where they were going in Nairobi, they were signing up for one of 3 flights. So worst case scenario, they were behind by like an hour and a half, which is actually a lot for charter flights, a half hour, 8:45 and 9:30. Like that's a big chunk. So anyway, they get there. Colin and Christy and Chip and Kim are on the first flight. Cammie and Carly, Brandon and Nicole are on the second flight. and Mirna and Sharna and Linda and Karen end up on flight number 3. Goodbye. Because their flight was delayed. Now, the staunch difference, like I just have to say, like, I have never loved a team more than I love Chip and Kim in this moment. Like when they're in, they end up in Tanzania, they are just they're so joyful and so appreciative of just everything going on around them. Chip is all these people look like me. They're doing the task. They're sitting down. I know I'm jumping ahead, but they're sitting down for like a quick dinner with people while doing the task. I'm not even mad. Like they're just, they're clearly never been to, you know, I don't think they've been to Africa at this point. And just to see their I don't know what the word I want is, but like gratitude for being brought here and their enjoyment in the experience was really lovely to watch. Like I actually teared up watching it, as opposed to some of the teams that were just like, and I get it, it's the race, but like heads down, not enjoying the experience, like not even taking the time to look around, because the people were so welcoming. And if the people are going to be so welcoming, take a minute and be welcomed by the people. That's my feelings.
I agree with you. And I really want to say, Greg, you have to agree with me. On this episode, Chip embodied, and when I say embodied, the quintessential black dad on a vacation. The way Chip was like, hey, look, hey, my man, what's going on? Kim, you see the way he just was so hype and so extra. I loved every bit of it. And again, we've been to Russia. We've been to all of these places where really like none of them look like Chip and Kim. And so for them to have that experience and to see how well and happy they were was really great. And I was happy that Amazing Race could capture something like this, being as though there's only one black team on here. I thought it was beautiful. I also thought like such a stark difference. We've been to other, you know, third world countries or not as developed countries on this season, this current season. And I just thought it was so interesting that Christy had the nerve to say out of her mouth, it smells bad here.
You should never watch I think it's the next season. You shouldn't watch the next one. People's ugly shows through. I know I jumped ahead because I think the best part of this episode, actually, I just glossed over. So teams have to take a 70-mile bus ride to find their next clue. There's a yield, no one uses it. This bus ride's amazing because on the first bus, you have Colin and Christy, where she talks about how it smells. Thumbs down. And then Chip and Kim, who are loving everything. They're charged $5 for the bus. They get on the bus, $5. No problems with the bus. You have bus 2. You have Brandon and Nicole. Jesus did not get on this bus. And Cammie and Carly, who are literally being taken for a ride. Not only does their bus run out of fuel and the third bus passes them, but they are charged $100 to get on the bus. Like these people saw like the whitest white folks and were like, this is what it is. It was amazing. And the ladies were getting a little bit uncomfortable. I don't think it was really warranted, but Brandon's all, I don't know if you're a man of God. I don't know if you're trustworthy, blah, blah, blah. I honestly feel a little bit like karma came back for these teams and the bus ran out of fuel and somebody had to go, you know, jogging down the street and get a carton of fuel to come back and refill the bus. Side note, the third bus, they charged them $3, and Charlotte and Mirna and Linda and Karen had absolutely no problem, and they had the best deal, and it was fantastic.
Well, that was one of my favorite parts, is that everyone was having a tough time on that first bus, and at some point they were like, oh, like, I don't know how Mirna and Sharna are going to be doing on that other bus, and it's cuts to them paying $3 for the bus and passing them, because I'm not a huge fan of whatever that's like. Pretty much everyone on that second bus. So seeing them pass was a amazing part of the episode.
Yeah,
I agree. If they had to eliminate a bus, I think bus 2 could just be, you know, cut from the season.
Yeah, no, bus 2 is trash. There's so much in that bus episode, right? Because I also I feel like there is an air and there's a privilege of how Brandon and Nicole are talking to these people. Now, mind you, I'm a well-traveled person myself, and I do know that there are, like, they take advantage of tourists, right? Like, you know, and they will try to gouge prices and do a lot of different things. And so there is an aspect that you do have to kind of like go back and forth. And my favorite thing, first of all, I love to haggle whenever I go to countries. Like I'll pick up something, and if the price ain't right, I'm like, I'll put it down and I'll walk away. And normally they'll come running after you. And so there is the art of negotiation, but just the way that Brandon was speaking to them and Nicole, I just really felt was like just a level of disrespect. However, I do think that the bus was disrespecting them. And so it was like a little back and forth. The crazy part of me where I'm on Brandon's side was the bus broke down. So not only did it run out of gas, Brandon and them had to pay for the gas. They gave them like $20 to go get the gas. The way I screamed when they got off the bus and the guy was like, where's my $90? And what I was confused about was because I was like, all right, now I'm with Brandon. I just paid $20. I'm not paying you $90. Did the other ladies that were on the bus not have? That's where I was confused about.
See Tammy and Carly just slinked away to start doing their detour. They're like, we're done here, and ran away. Brandon and Nicole are stuck dealing with the extra $10 or whatever it is in gas fees. I don't agree with the fact that Nicole is like, here's your money and throws it on the floor. Like, that's not a good look. You don't throw money on the floor. But I don't think I would have wanted to pay the $10 either for the gas. That's not part of the negotiated price to get me where I want to go.
And I know we're on the show. I know it's Amazing Race. However, I've been to some countries and I've been into some sticky situations where I'm like, they're taking advantage of me. However, I'm in a foreign country and I like to make it back home. So you know what? Here you go. Right. And I just felt like just the way that they were acting, like, I get it, you're being taken advantage of, but what you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Even because there were two aspects of it. Like, one, I think, she was definitely trying to not pay the $10 out of principle. But one, for the safety aspect, you don't know these people, you don't know the country that you're in. Don't take the risk. And two, time wise, like, you're racing for $1 million. At the end of the day, $10 don't matter. Give them the money and keep going. But at the same time, like, when I think there was at some point where he did almost hit her or something with the paper that he had in his hand. That's when I was like, okay, now he's taking a little bit too far now.
But he did that for me. But it was disrespectful, but he did that for me. Okay. He said, and what I loved was Christy or Nikki in that moment was like, Brandon! And Brandon's like, I'm a man of God and I love Jesus and Jesus loves everybody else. My good brother, I'm going to pray for you. Like, yeah, Brandon didn't want no smoke. Brandon was like, just pay him the money, Nikki.
I mean, at some point, just pay him the money. I agree 100%. So, okay, so now everyone gets the detour. I'm actually a little bit sad that nobody chose one half of this detour. So it's either buzzing or busy. Now, buzzing is you have to take a bicycle to a nearby honey farm and put on a beekeeper suit and harvest 2 kilos, I don't know, of honey. No one chooses this. Now, I think I told you this before, Bryce. My father-in-law is an amateur beekeeper. They have hives in their backyard in Massachusetts. And I've gotten to put on the outfit and take out the comb. And it's so cool. I would have chosen this in a heartbeat. It's not particularly difficult. I guess people would be scared, could be scared. But bees are they're not going to do it unless you're allergic. Then I guess why you don't choose that side. But everyone does the busy side, which is find this furniture place, get 2 chairs onto a cart driven by a bicycle, and deliver them and return the receipt. The best part of this moment is Chip and Kim's guy, because everyone asks a local for help. Chip and Kim's guy takes them to they're at the furniture place, and then takes them to go buy cushions for the seats because he assumes they don't want to just give away the chairs without cushions. And they're like, we don't need cushions, but they don't care because they're so happy. They're literally stopping to hug everyone and love everyone and just have their moments.
Let's be clear, though. That guy was trying to hustle them, though. Okay, first of all, we gave you an address. Now, why the hell you taking me to your cousin's shop?
Exactly. I was going to say, it's like his brother or cousin or uncle or something.
Good brother. Ain't nobody say nothing about no pillows, but I did love the fact that was funny. And I love the community that was around them, that was helping them. And, they say God don't like ugly, because if you watch this episode, in my opinion, the teams that radiate light and are positive, it seems like the community's helping everybody.
One.
Except People are
Colin
pushing
and
it
Christy
for
are there
them.
going, if you don't go faster, we're not going to pay you. Like, we're not going to pay you to people who they need the money more than you do. The free money that you have in your hands for a TV show. I don't like this. We're not going to pay you. I have no problem with get us there fast and we'll pay you extra, like more than we offer to pay you. Like, you know me, Bryce. I'm learn your cab driver's name, get them on your team. They're going to want to work harder with you if they feel like they're a part of it. And I'm all for tipping extra. I don't like this. If you don't get us there first or you don't go fast enough, we're not giving you what we agreed to. That doesn't fly with me.
Yeah. It almost feels like they're like dangling the money in front of them and like having them run after it. And it's like, don't do that to these people.
Right.
And we'll see what happens with that
Woo.
next time. Right.
But I was really shocked that most people chose the one to take the carts around, because at least the way that John and I always thought about it was like, if there was something that was kind of fear factor-esque that just gets it done as quick as possible, I was like, oh, everyone's going to choose the B one. Like, who's going to choose the one that you have to go and run around and find the different addresses? But I was shocked.
Well,
I was really
the
shocked.
difference now, Greg, is our rules are, I mean, back in the day, you could ask locals to basically do anything and everything for you. You could pay cabs to take you where you needed to go and just follow them if you had the money to do so. So I think in the older seasons where you had locals who you were allowed to say, can you take us here? And they're like, yeah, that's my cousin's house. Like, let's go. No problem. It was an easier situation than, the later seasons where your rules were the same as mine, where you couldn't have somebody lead you somewhere. I don't even know if you could have somebody like behind you being like, that's correct. But so I think that's why people were more willing to do it. Not only could the locals actually physically do the tasks for them, but could lead them exactly where they needed to go.
Speaking of rules, is the rule instituted now during this season, or do you know when it was, or has it always been that if you contract with someone, whether it be a taxi or a local, that like you have to pay them, like you can't leave it undisputed? Is that rule in effect now, or did that happen after?
That rule's in effect now. It's the same reason that Colin couldn't walk away, or nobody can walk away from anything unless you settle your cab, or unless they're willing to let you go for free. Like, you don't have to pay them what you agreed. If the cab driver says, okay, no problem, you can go. But if you haven't settled your cab, your anything that you've contracted out, then you can't continue. Like, they can stop you from moving forward.
Yeah, I remember during our like onboarding for the Amazing Race, they were talking about all the rules, and they were saying most of the rules, not most, but a lot of the rules that the Amazing Race has is because of Colin and Christy's season, and particularly Colin and Christy. Like, they didn't break any rules, but they had to they came up with so many different like random things that they had to define rules. Like, apparently Colin did pretty much like all of the roadblocks or something along those lines. Like, they were the reason why we had to institute that.
This season is the reason why the roadblock rule changed. It was Christy and Nicole and Kim. They all did one roadblock for their time on the race. So I'm not saying how long any of them last, but they only did one, which is bogus. So there are a lot of rule changes that happened, but that rule about paying your cab or settling your debts, you have to do that. Because otherwise, why not just say you're going to pay every cab driver $1,000 and then say, fine, bye, just kidding, and run away and mess with everybody. Right. So I do like that is a rule that was always in place. Okay, so Colin, sorry. No.
So I was just talking about this again. I wonder, again, because I've never played Amazing Race, and again, I'm with two winners, but when I was listening to the descriptions of each of these tasks, right, one, the difficult task of delivering the chairs was that, like, the addresses don't make sense. Like, you don't know where it is, however, whatever. But when I thought of the B thing, I'm like, it's going to take time to put the suit on, get the suit on. So my thinking was, and I'll try to act like I'm actually playing, was like, if it's here, we can get there. We don't have to put anything on, and it's maybe physical. Maybe let's like kind of physicality it out. That's not a word, but like work it out instead of having to put on a suit and do all of this stuff. That was just my thinking. Does that make sense to winners?
No, I think you're right. No, I think in this situation where you can actually have people direct you where you need to go, the B thing, no one else can get in the suit with you. You're responsible for doing the work there. With the furniture thing, yeah, you have to like find the place, but you can have as many people around you helping you find it. So in an old season, with the rules being what they were, I actually think you're right, and that the furniture one was faster as long as you didn't go and stop and buy cushions and pillows for your chairs. But yeah, I think in that situation,
I also was loving Kim and Chip. I loved when they delivered the furniture. The grandmom, they was like, she want to feed you. They brought a chair out. Like, they are sitting on the chair. Now, mind you, I know that moment has to be so epic. Like, wow, this family that we don't know is embracing us. But at the same time, we are competing for $1 million. The way Chip was in that rocker chair, like, oh, this is so beautiful. Like, I get it. I get it. But I would have been pissed. I would have been like, Chip, if you don't get your, like, why are you rocking in that rocking chair for 20 minutes, Chip? Okay? I get it. You don't want to be disrespectful, but we are playing for $1 million. Sorry.
I mean, even with that 20 minutes, they're in second place. So Colin and Christy are first, Chip and Kim are second. Cammie and Carly do fine, they're third. Linda and Karen, they're beasts, man. They are trudging through mud. They're the fastest point from A to B is a straight line. They're great. Brandon and Nicole are fighting. Brandon's talking about how she's a bit weak. They start having a little bit more bickering. And Charlotte and Mirna, Charlotte's basically like pushing the thing with her head. And she's like, my heart's going to stop and die. But she doesn't stop because she's amazing. And she never complains about anything.
Nicole, or Nikki, all you are doing is walking.
I love that you go Nikki as if that's not her real name.
No, because that's everyone. Her name is Nicole. Brandon be like Nikki. So Nikki, all you're doing is walking. Brandon is pushing. I'm confused as to like.
Yeah, and they had like a whole team of people push too. I don't know if that was like they gave them those. Ooh, look at that! You saw that? They gave me a little thumbs up. I don't know if the race gave them those people or if they paid those people, but I was like, they're doing pretty much all the work.
Local. I think people got excited to be a part of it, and we're like, we'll do it. Like that.
Yeah. It's so funny it's fun to like see those countries where like obviously big American TV doesn't come and film very often, because even during and we'll get to it, but during the egg challenge and just like a whole bunch of different challenges, like the whole community's there watching, like wanting to get involved. It's really fun to see.
You know what's so funny? I'm realizing just in this moment that they're in Tanzania, and after I made the ladle in Tanzania, something that didn't air was so many locals, because we were second to last. When I was done, I mean, I'd been there for hours. So many locals, as we were getting back in our cab, came to the street, and we just had this moment of like everybody was hugging and jumping and like excited. That's the one moment I really wish had made the air, because it was just, I was crying. We were just so emotional, and everyone was cheering after hours of horrible. Tanzania's got the nicest locals in the world. There, I said it. It's been said. Okay, so teams now have to travel.
Questionable buses, but the nicest people in the world. Okay.
That's fair. Teams must travel to Kibioni, I'm going to say it wrong, and find the Kavashi Hotel to get their next clue. At the hotel, the roadblock happens. So Colin's like, I guess I'm doing it because Christy doesn't want to do anything. Chip is so cute. He goes, Kim, baby, this is your moment. Like, you're going to do it. And then Charlotte and Mirna are paying people to carry their bags around because whatever. I don't know. Wait, maybe Chip does this one. What is happening?
No, Chip eats. Yeah, this is the ostrich egg, right?
Yeah, this is.
I'm sorry. Kim is hyping up Chip and being like, "This is your specialty, iron stomach. You've got this." Right? Kim already did her one. I don't know what I'm talking about. She definitely doesn't do anything.
I think he called himself the Michael Jordan of the egg eating, because he crushed that. He crushed those eggs.
Put anything in front of him, man's got an iron stomach. So it just says who's really hungry. And you have to crack open an ostrich egg and fill a wooden bowl, cook the eggs, and eat it. Now, it's just eggs. It's not the biggest deal in the world. But when you think about the fact that it is 24 like regular eggs that we eat now in one sitting, I don't know how more people didn't throw up. And I feel like they didn't, because if they had, the race would have shown it. So Brandon does it because he does all of them. Charlotte does it because she does most of them. Chip does it. I love the fact that Chip sits down and he just says grace quickly, which is just really good. He's just so happy to be there. Colin gets there first, and he is just miserable. Like, he's dropping egg all over the place. He tries to pick it up off the floor. He's like, no, it's fine. They're like, it's not fine. Like, you don't tell us what's fine. We tell you what's fine.
Right. They said, fill it up. Fill it up.
Then he starts eating it. He's like, this isn't cooked enough. Goes back and starts to continue to cook it because it's not well done enough for him.
So, in theory, right, that kind of makes sense because he's saying like it'll be too slimy. But
slimy is easier to swallow. I don't know.
I would agree. Sometimes it's
do not use that as a soundbite.
Sometimes
That's not
go down your throat. I don't know. That's what I'm just saying. In Tanzania,
like the caviar, I think would be easier because you don't have to chew it. Like it's slimy.
Similarly, just go down your throat. But I was trying to be with Colin on this, right? But then I also thought, have you guys ever burnt eggs before? Like, have you ever smelled that burnt egg? I'm like, Colin, why are you even taking this risk at re-cooking it? Just eat it.
Yeah, I'm on the. Yeah. It gets real chewy and rubbery. I was like, if I'm eating it almost raw. Like,
I would say,
raw.
Do I even have to cook it? Like, do I even have to cook it? Can I drink the eggs? 100%.
My biggest question was like, did they get salt? Like, can I throw some onions in there? Like,
where
are they eating raw eggs?
Keep adding more food. Keep adding more food to it. It's amazing. Meanwhile, Cammie's doing it. She's holding her nose. I'm like, girl, it's eggs. Relax. It's just eggs. Like, this is not nearly the weirdest or worst thing they've ever had to eat or the most voluminous thing they had to eat. There's a season where they have to eat like 5 pounds of cheese fondue in one sitting. It is so gross, but like also sounds delicious, but also so gross. Anyway, Karen does it. She's passing Colin. She's a beast. They're amazing. So, and Cammie and Charla are basically throwing up. So Chip does it first because who else is going to do it first? Colin, because he was there so early, even with double cooking it, does it second. Karen's in third. Brandon's in fourth. Cammie is in fifth. And unfortunately, Slow and Steady here is not winning the race because Charla, although she is amazing, doesn't get it done this time. And then the teams have to ride a zip line, the Flying Fox. This looks so fun. Over this 230-foot gorge below to get to the pit stop of Lake Manyara. I would have paid for that. Like, this is an experience I would pay for. Chip and Cam are still savoring the whole thing. They come in first. They win a trip to Latin America. Where? We don't know. They don't tell us any details of anything. Colin and Christy are second. Linda and Karen, because of the iron stomach there, come in third. Brandon and Nicole are fourth. Cammie and Carly are fifth. And unfortunately, this, I will also say, is the first time, because we have another first, that Phil cries on the mat. He actively cries when Charla and Mirna are eliminated because he just loved their pluck and their spunk. Are you putting on glasses so that we can't see your tears?
Yes, because Phil wasn't the only one crying. I know. And I think when they got to Charla and just asked her what this moment meant, and I wasn't ready for, like, I'm so used to them being so upbeat and fun. I was not ready for her essentially just being like, this is my life. And me going on here, I really just wanted to show everybody that, like, I don't need help. I can do it all. And I love those moments that people, they're not taking on a whole community, right? They're not trying to be like a spokesperson. They are just really saying, from my experience, I just want to move the needle forward. And I really feel like in that moment, that's what she was doing. And it really just, and when Phil started to, I was like, wait, it's Phil cry. Like, it was, my heart was broken.
Yeah, that was definitely a special moment for sure.
I like the fact, actually, because we talked a few times this season, Bryce, about how they didn't make any concessions for Charla, how, she had to use a chair and stand on things. She couldn't ride the bike, so she had to do the other side of this detour, blah, blah, blah. I kind of love that now because her whole point was like, I can do whatever you can do. I don't need special accommodations. This is what I do every day. I make it work for me. And she really did make the race work for her. I mean, I get they came in sixth, but they made it halfway around the world. And in what is, like, undoubtedly, I don't think anybody will argue, a very difficult season, one of the most difficult seasons of the Amazing Race. And she did it. I defy you to find a time where she complained and said, I don't want it or I can't. She didn't. She'll pick up that side of beef. She'll throw your backpack around her neck and she will just carry all of it. Like, she's just an inspiration in her attitude. Not even because she has to be, but just because she is with your attitude.
Right.
Yeah, the race is incredibly difficult. Like, just like taxing, physically taxing, mentally taxing, like even socially taxing. And so anytime anyone has any sort of disability on the race, like I am just incredibly impressed with how they're able to do it. Like, just, communication wise, mentally wise. So she really killed it.
And especially with Charlotte and Mirna, who were dealing with so many teams being so negative about them. Like, not only was it just she had limitations because there were things she couldn't reach necessarily, but like on top of that, to have teams like Lance and Marshall and and Colin and Christy, like Lance and Marshall just calling them bitches at every turn and just like making fun of them. And they never let it get them down.
Assaulted.
Right. And they never let it get them down. They used it to find the better flight, to find the person who was going to help them more, to get them to turn that boat around. Like they just embodied positivity and a little bit of crazy. And I love that.
Yeah, I think they said that in like the first episode or so too. They were like, yeah, people like we're used to people not helping us. We're used to, having to do it on our own, and they did it again during the race.
And I know we skipped the where are they now last week, but I don't think we care about Lance and Marshall, so we're not going to do it because who cares? But we do have Charlotte. They live in Baltimore, both of them. Mirna is the owner of her own law firm. She has 10-year-old twins and a very handsome husband. And Charlotte also lives in Baltimore, and it's her birthday coming up this month. So happy birthday, Charlotte.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you like them a lot, Bryce, you will see them on a future season as well, because, I mean, the people love them. Maybe not the people they raced with, but the general public.
Well, we love them. Very sad to see them go. This was an epic episode. I can't thank Greg enough for taking time out of his busy schedule to come recap episode 7 with us. Greg, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. This was a very fun season to watch. I was telling Bryce right before. I think I watched the first part of the season and I stopped right about around season 7 or episode 7. So I'm excited to finish and kind of see who wins, see how the rest of the game kind of.
So you don't know where it goes from here either.
I have no idea where it goes, and I'm going to watch the rest today.
You will not. When I say you will not, I cannot be more adamant in saying you will not be disappointed. You, like Bryce, will call me after you watch the next one and the one after that. Every one, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 all have something epic in them. So
I know there's that one famous season or that one famous scene coming up, which I won't say, but I'm excited for that one.
There is a very famous scene. I think it doesn't happen until episode 11, but that one is maybe the most epic scene. It is one of the top 5. If you know people who watch The Amazing Race and you say, give me your moments, this moment will be on everybody's list of holy cow. Holy cow. You'll get it when we get there. Moments.
We'll have to stay tuned to get to that episode. But again, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been your Purple Pants podcast rewatch of season 5, episode 7. We'll be back next week covering episode 8. Greg, thank you so much. Brooke,
and thank you for agreeing with me on what if elimination
well,
is.
Look, let me show you what a Bryce elimination is. All right. Thank you guys for coming. Bye.
Pit stop. It's a pit stop. Pit stop. It's a pit stop. Pit stop. It's a pit stop.